This video is now in session, and Democrats are neutering themselves. They are self-destructing over a minor flaw that has now become a major flaw because the Democrats are now in crisis mode. They say that in presidential campaigns and in campaigns in general, you don't ever campaign from a position of weakness, but of strength. Now, though, you have been seeing a multitude of news articles about how the Democrats are in shambles over what to do with their president. And you've had Democratic advisors leaking out these discussions in public, causing a crisis. Of course, it's true that Biden is not perfect as a candidate. He is old and he has made many gaffes, but barely any candidate is perfect. If you look at the 2016 primaries, Clinton was seen as too technocratic in retrospect. Sanders was seen as too progressive. And if you look at the Democratic alternatives that we have in 2024, Kamala Harris is seen as too incompetent. J.B. Pritzker is seen as too wealthy. Buttigieg doesn't appeal to black voters. Gretchen Whitmer isn't even planning on running. Gavin Newsom comes from California. And if you even look at the Republican side, almost every candidate has some flaws. Donald Trump is seen as too divisive, and Mitt Romney was seen as too out of touch. So the point is, you can see that every single candidate has some sort of flaw within themselves. The only exception that are notable are very inspirational candidates like Barack Obama or Ronald Reagan. But you don't really see those kinds of candidates today, at least not in the 2024 election. If you did, they probably would have already toppled Biden based off of their popularity. Now, let's talk about why the Democrats are doing so bad and the Republicans are doing so good right now. At least that's what it feels like. The Republicans are doing so good. The reason why that's happening is because Trump and the Republicans, specifically the Republicans, are united around Trump despite his many pitfalls, despite the lies that he constantly invokes or the rhetoric that he spews out to his core base. And Biden would be doing fine if the Democrats had simply kept their focus on Trump even after the debate. But you might be asking, how can Democrats unite around Biden when they weren't even ecstatic for him before the debate performance? The answer is that Democrats could not gaslight themselves. You can say that Biden's three gaffes are a major issue, but you can also say that Trump's 28 lies should also be as big of an issue. And yet the Republicans don't care because the Republicans are fulfilling the whole purpose of a political party, which is to win. The Democrats, meanwhile, obviously their goal is to win, and they think the best way of winning is to neuter Biden. But the way they're going around it at this point is counterproductive to the whole point of a political party, which is to win elections. And I found that it's been a trend for the Democrats to create so much fear within themselves over minor issues that they then begin to lose sight of the broader goal of their party, which is, again, to win elections. If you remember back in 2020, the Democrats were absolutely spewing over themselves after the New Hampshire primaries when Joe Biden couldn't win Iowa or New Hampshire. And so you had a Democratic party that was now suddenly fearing over the potential for Bernie Sanders to become the presidential nominee. But the Democrats let the primary run its course, and Joe Biden did end up winning. The same thing with 2016. Bernie Sanders supporters and Hillary Clinton supporters were openly fuming against each other about who was the best to win the 2016 election. And that fuming had gotten to a point where Bernie Sanders voters could not get themselves to vote for Hillary Clinton, where you now had this internal division that was caused over overly thinking about the stakes of the 2016 election. And now we're seeing the same thing happen here in 2024, where many Democrats are now fearful that Biden's couple of gaffes may ultimately cause him to lose this election. But the thing is, no election, barely any election, has been decided because of a candidate's qualities. In 2016, it was decided because many blue collar workers were frustrated that that their jobs were being lost to China and to overseas countries. In 2020, voters rejected Trump because of the social unrest that he caused over the past 4 years of his presidency. In 2012, people decided to vote for Obama because the economy was starting to recover and that they were fine with 4 more years of the same kind of government. These kinds of elections are not decided. Voters don't decide these kinds of elections based off of, Obama is a little bit more charismatic than Mitt Romney. It's something that the news likes to perpetuate, but oftentimes is a pretty stupid, for lack of better words, way to decide who to vote for as president. You don't vote for someone to be president based off of character, but more because of policy and their actions as president. So that's one factor. The other thing is polls. The Democrats have been in this fear factor now, in this fear crisis mode, because a slew of polls over the past month has shown that Republicans, or more specifically, Trump, has been leading Biden by around 3 percentage points in key swing states. But the thing is, polls have rarely been accurate 4 months before the election. 2016, they predicted that Clinton was going to win by 7 to 8 points in the Midwestern states. If you looked at the 2022 elections, many pundits were forecasting a red wave, and the polls had given Republicans a slight edge over the Democrats in the national vote for Congress, and yet Democrats ended up doing fine. And if you looked at the special elections from 2022, 2023, and in 2024, Democrats have almost always outperformed the polls by large margins. The reason why is because, well, we really don't know, but what we are seeing here is a historical trend forming where the Democrats are now doing better than what is expected of them from the polls. The opposite of what was happening from 2016 to 2020. And so the truth is, you can't really look into the polls too much because the polls are just the polls are just I guess the right word to say is a frame of what voters think at this current date. But the problem is voters are not electing someone today. They are electing someone in 4 months. And when 4 months comes from now, voters will then decide. But what voters are thinking right now will be vastly different from what voters think when they go to the booth. If you sample voters in a traditional election 4 months out from November, you'll find a lot of them don't even know or are not even considering the presidential election that much. Most voters don't even know who they're going to vote for until they enter the polling location. And so to start neutering the current president of your party, the current president of the United States, who's part of your party, because of these speculative polls, is plain garbage for the Democrats to be pursuing. But at this point, there's not really much to say for the Democrats other than they should be quite ashamed of the crisis that they have created for themselves. If they literally just gaslighted themselves into thinking Biden was fine, then you wouldn't have a bunch of these news articles speculating over about Biden's future. So our advice to Democrats is to calm down and be decisive. Either choose Biden and stick with him, campaign for him, or if you're going to neuter Biden, find an alternative. Create the alternative. Formulate plans for the alternative. And then our advice for the Republicans is to just keep eating popcorn and celebrate it, because Democrats are getting increasingly frightened the more confident the Republicans are. So that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. This video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.